it's been a while since I shared a tutorial. This year I've been pretty busy with quite a number of private in-person workshops, but I'm so glad that I finally carved out the time to film this tutorial for you guys. The coloring technique that I'm about to share in this video is one of my favorites when it comes to making wafer paper flowers, especially the abstract looking ones. It's a really simple technique, yet it allows your flowers to look really sophisticated. And the good news is you can make a lot of these tulips in less than no time. It's that simple. If you're a beginner, then you're definitely in for a treat because this technique itself is a confidence booster. I actually picked up this technique when I first started making wafer paper flowers many years ago, so it's really easy to pick up, yet it creates a very beautiful results for your flowers. And I've been applying it to other flowers ever since. Hey, if you're new here, my name is Winifred and I've been doing cake decorating and sugar flowers for about 10 years now. In this channel, I share all about creating edible sugar flowers and equip you guys with good quality knowledge for making beautiful flowers and cake designs. So once you're ready, let's begin. Alright, so here are all the tools and materials you'll need for this tutorial. All the information can actually be found in your workbook here. So remember to download it from the description box below this video. The colors I'll be using for this open tulip will be egg yellow, grape violet, pink. These three are from Sugar Flare and juniper green from Wilton. So the core or common denominator that these colors have is they have glycerin inside their ingredients, and it pairs really well with the conditioner that I'm using today, which is vodka. So if you're wondering why I use vodka as my chosen liquid or conditioner, I've actually linked a video above here and I've explained it all in there. So remember to watch it. And with that, we're ready to begin. So for the open tulips, there are actually two parts to the flower. First will be the stamen or the center, and the second part will be the petals. So let's start by working on the center first. So here I have my 24 gauge white wire, which I'm gonna go ahead and just trim it into like threes because I prefer a shorter stem. If you prefer a longer stem, you can just go ahead and cut it into two. Okay, and once that's done, I am going to go ahead and do a little hook above. Okay, so to create a hook, just put your fingers at about like a 1-inch mark and use your plier to do like a nice bend. So in one continuous movement, you want to create a hook like that. So I've actually linked all three wires together because it's a pretty thin wire, so you can do them all together. Okay, and once that's done, I'm gonna set it aside first. Okay, so for the center or the stamen of the tulip, you can actually see that it's from the workbook. Is this like rectangular strip that you have. That's how it looks like. So I actually just traced my wafer paper over it and then cut it out. So it's a 2 by 8 centimeters rectangular strip. So with this, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start mixing our color first before we create our center like that. So the colors that I've chosen for my stamen, I like to usually choose a color that actually complements the colors of my petals. So for this, because I know that the edge I'm going for like almost muted yellow, orange yellow, so I'm gonna choose my center to kind of match this so that the entire flower looks really cohesive when it all comes together. So if let's say today, if you're working on like a purple or like a green flower, then you might want to match the center to be similar. So now for the colors, in order to achieve this muted yellow, I'm going in with my egg yellow and my violet. So egg yellow is my main color and the violet helps to tone it down. So I'm going to bring this color to the well here. Okay, so I have my colors in my well here. I'm going to use my vodka to dilute. So every time I mix a new color, I'm going to choose a new well. I'm going for a rather dark color, so I'm not using a lot of conditioner or liquid. So the yellow will be my base and the purple is actually there to tone it down. Okay, so let's swatch the colors and see how it goes. Okay. So here we got ourselves like a really nice, almost like golden yellow, but really strong one. So if you were to compare, this looks pretty similar to what we are going for. If you're going from something stronger, then you can always then go ahead and add more of the yellow. And then you can see it will turn out really stronger here. So go according to what you feel like or you want. If you want to learn more about colors, I actually do have a color theory class on my online school. And in there, I go through a lot more details. So that will really help you if you're working on your colors. Okay, so I'm pretty good with this color here. I'm gonna set this aside and start painting on this guy here. So all of my centers are made from wafer paper, so I don't have to switch between different mediums. Go ahead and paint one side. And when you're painting, you want to make sure your brush strokes are really consistent so that the liquid on the wafer paper is consistent as well. This helps a lot when you're working with petals because you don't want one part to be shrinking and the other side to not be shrinking. Okay, and then once we are happy with this, I'm gonna take my hook and I'm going to place it at the bottom half of the strip of wafer paper and I'm going to start twirling it. So go ahead and do one fold first to make sure that it's stuck onto the wire, and then from here gently press down and keep rolling it. So I'm trying to create like a long strip of like wafer paper, like along the hook here, and then later we're gonna trim it away. So you just keep rolling. Your wafer paper is naturally sticky once you put liquid on it, but if it's not, you can always grab your brush, take some wafer paper glue, and then continue to put glue here and then roll and pinch, roll and pinch. So you should end up with something like that. And your wafer paper should feel really kind of like soft and pliable like this, so that later on when we trim, we can actually twist it into the shape that we want. Okay, so now that it is soft and nice at this stage, as you can see, the tip is actually pretty sharp. So what I'm gonna do is grab my pair of scissors and just randomly trim it to make sure that we get a pointy tip. Again, don't have to be really perfect because now we're just aiming for the shape of it. So trim it like how you will maybe trim a tip of a pencil, as in to get the shape of it. So maybe something like that. Okay, so now you can see it's sharper. And then what we're gonna do is, in order to split it up into like threes this way, hold it this way, and firstly just trim it like maybe 2/3, like leaving 1/3 here and 2/3 here. So it opens up this way, and then the remaining 2/3 just trim it into half again. Okay, so here you go. So can you see? Really, you don't have to worry if it's not like equal or like perfect because we're just looking at 3 pointy tips. And what you can do now is you can then grab your maybe like wooden skewer, and then you can just kind of place your wooden skewer behind one of the tip and then roll it backwards. Okay, so roll it backwards like so, and just allow the shape to dry there. So we're looking at 3 pointy tips but kind of like pointing outwards. So that's what we are going for. Okay, so that's really it for our center. I'm just gonna let it dry by setting it aside first, and now we'll work on our petals. Okay, so for the petals, just a prelude, you can see there are actually 2 colors going on the petals. I'm going to teach you how to create like this multi-color look on your petals. It's a really simple technique, but it actually brings out a lot of depth in your flower. So we're going to start off with working with the top color first, which is this tip over here. Similar to our stamen color, so we can use the same color here. Then we're going to go ahead and add on like our muted pink, which is the one inside. So this is a really fun technique that you can try on other flowers or leaves as well. Okay, so setting this aside, let's work with our main color, which is the tip color, which is the yellow. So each tulip is made up of 3 bigger petals and 3 smaller ones. So the smaller ones are actually the inner petals, and the bigger ones are the ones like what I call the outer petals because they bloom open. So keeping this aside, I'm gonna use the same brush that I did for my stamen, and let's work with the bigger one first. If we are trying to introduce like a color on the outside, and if you can see, they are actually like a striped look. Like you can actually see the lines on it, and that's also how I will achieve it through painting as well. So when you're painting, you don't want to be painting like really hard on the petal, but you want to kind of like lift it off. So that way you also create lines on your petals, and it's a really, really nice texture to admire. So with that, you want your colors to be really pigmented. If you have something really light, the lines wouldn't show as well. So I'm gonna go with something stronger. So I'll probably add a little bit more yellow and a bit more purple to darken and to strengthen the color as well. Okay, here. So you can see I'm going with a slightly stronger version of what I have here. So similarly, it's made up of 8 yellow and grape violet. So once I'm happy with that, I'm going to then tap off the excess because you don't need a lot. Hold your petal this way and then start brushing in from the outside. So this way. There. So I'm always pointing towards my finger, so in this direction, because the veining goes in this way and I'm just trying to follow the lines of the veining. So try not to go like just vertically down this way, but like in this manner where you're kind of like drawing and ending at your finger. Okay, so let's turn around. I feel like I can go a little bit stronger than this color, so I'm gonna go ahead and put more yellow and then more purple to darken it. Okay, and then now I'm gonna go ahead and continue. Okay, this looks better for my liking. Okay, so I'm just gonna leave it as it is. The main reason, or like the way we are painting this, is not to soften it like how we always do before veining our petals. It's just to create the texture. So we can go ahead and do it for all the petals first before we use the main color to soften and to vein it. The lines can go like shorter and longer, so you can actually play around. So now we're done with the bigger petals. I'm gonna move on to the smaller ones. So the same techniques apply. If you're new to wafer paper and you have no idea what I'm doing, please go ahead and refer to the video link above here. It's called the Introduction to Wafer Paper. And in there, I actually teach you the foundations of working wafer paper. So strengthen it there and then come back to here, and this will be more of a breeze to you. Okay. So again, doesn't have to be equal. So some of them can be slightly lighter if you want. This is a really simple flower to create if you're also looking at like volume and also like size, because it doesn't take a lot of petals to create like a big looking flower. So it's a really simple and great one to start with. Okay, so now that we're ready with all these yellow like our edges, we will then be ready to mix our darker pink here. Okay, so for the pink itself, I'm going to use the same palette, and I'm working with pink from Sugar Flare and juniper from Wilton. So I'm going to pick up both my colors and put them in my well here as usual. Okay, so here I have my colors in my well. So this is pink and this is green. So similarly, I'm going to go into like a new well here. And because I want my pink to be lighter so that it doesn't cover up these lines that I've actually created. So you just need a tiny bit of pink gel paste to create like a lighter pink. So let's just test out this pink first. So this pink looks really saturated, kind of like a neon pink, which isn't what I'm looking for. So if you understand color theory, just by adding a little bit of green into it actually helps to tone down and mute the pink. Because green neutralizes pink because they're opposite on the color wheel. So let's try and see. Slightly better, not so bright, but let's go ahead with a little bit more green because I'm looking for something more muted. So you can see the colors are slowly, the pink is actually slowly pulled away or like being neutralized by the green. This looks pretty good, but let's just go with a little bit more green. I think this might fit the view better. Okay, I actually pretty much like this color, so you can actually put it side by side just to see. So if you really like how they match up, then we can use this color. So let's start with the bigger one since we started bigger and just but it doesn't really matter which one you start with. Okay, so if you have some colors over here and you do not want the second color to kind of like go over it and change the color that you're working with, just grab some water, spray it, and just use a paper towel to clean it. This way you can be sure that when you're working with your new color, it's only purely the new color. Okay, so now let's work with the bigger petal that we have here. So with this color that I have, I'm gonna paint it over the whole thing just as though that I have not painted here, because whatever that's painted here is just texture, not so much of softening the petals. So from a point outside to a point outside here, that's how I'll paint it. You can see how the colors come together really nicely. Okay, so beautiful. Okay, so now that it's really soft, we're gonna introduce our veiner. And if you're afraid that your petals might stick to the veiner, you can actually grab some shortening and put into the veiner so it doesn't stick onto the veiner. Okay, so let's put here. It doesn't matter which side you put, just put on one side and then use the veiner to press it down. I really love this veiner because it already actually has a movement to it, like a shape. So when I take it out of the veiner, I don't have to reshape it, I can just leave it as so. See, there you go. So you can see very beautiful lines of veining, and at the same time you can see the shape is actually formed already. So in a way, the veiner helps to stretch the wafer paper into this new shape. So I'm gonna let it dry here first. I find that this color is a little bit maybe too light. So I'm gonna maybe just mix a little bit more pink in there. So you can always change up your colors as you go. So take some more pink. So when you want a darker color, you just add more pigment to it. And then add my green to tone it down. Okay, so this looks similar, so maybe a little bit more pink, a little bit more green. Okay, so this looks slightly darker. Okay, I'm really happy with this. It's not too far of a difference, so even when you put the petals together, they don't look too awkward. Okay, let's work with the second one here. Okay, so I'm just gonna grab my color and make sure that I push my brush in all the way and then tap off the excess like that. Because what happens when you don't do so, some students actually only has color at the tip, and then when they brush it over the wafer paper, it actually affects how the liquid is being brought onto the wafer paper. So make sure everything is color liquid and then tap away the excess. And then now you paint. It looks good. And then I'm gonna just put it on my veiner here. And then by now this should be dry already, so I can actually lift it up and you can see the shape forms really nicely. Okay, so you guys want a close up, you can see how it looks like the shape is really formed really nicely, and I don't have to create extra shape or texture onto it. I love this veiner. Okay, there you go. Beautiful. Still looks a little bit too light, so I'm gonna just tiny bit of pink into it. I really love adjusting color as I go. I think playing with colors is one of my favorites, so that's why I launched my color theory class as well, and I love exploring different colors with my petals. Okay, let's see. Okay, probably this is strong enough. Okay, and then let's go ahead and paint it. Okay, beautiful color. Now, over here. So when the wafer paper is really wet, what it does is actually it does a very minute kind of stretching, and that's why it works so well on this veiner. So let me push this out. See, this guy stays shapes really prettily. And then I will just press it down. See there. Lovely, so I'm gonna set this aside. So what I'm gonna do is for the smaller petals, exactly the same thing, just paint it and then vein it. So I'm gonna just do one and then I'll meet you back here when I'm done with all three. Okay, so same thing for the smaller one. Tap away the excess. And grab the veiner. And then for this one, you can actually either kind of like let it sit this way or just turn it slightly over the other side. So you can choose which side you want, because it's a really skinny one. So I generally prefer it to be here because it has a bit more movement here or here. So up to you. So I'm gonna leave this out. You can see how well it dries because the vodka actually helps to dry it. So it just stays as the shape and it doesn't become too soft. Okay, then I'm gonna press this down. Yeah, so there you go. So you can see, love the shape, love the veining, love the indentation. I just love this veiner. Okay, so let this sit here and I'm gonna walk this too, and I'll meet you right here when I'm back. Okay, so now I'm on my last petal, and so it's dried up really well in the veiner, and it actually has taken on the shape of the veiner, so I don't have to do extra like movement with my Dresden tool or ball tool or whatnot. So thanks to this veiner, they can take a break. aside here now. And now you can see that I have my petals. So like my inner petals are here. And then I have my outer petals here. So now we're ready to move into assembly. Okay, so these are the petals, and what we're gonna do is we are just gonna set aside the bigger ones, and let's start with the smaller one. So this is the stamen that we actually created just now. And in order for us to attach the smaller ones onto the stamen or the center here, we'll need our wafer paper glue, so have that ready. So there are a few ways that you can attach the smaller petals onto the stamen. So you can either attach all of them pointing outwards this way. If you want your tulip to be like really open, you can do so, like that. Or if you want to try something special and fun, you can also just have one of the petals flip the other way, and you can create something like that. So all your petals or like your flowers looks a little bit differently. So when you're putting it on your cake or whatnot, you have different options to play with. So you can see this one over here, I've actually done the 3 of them, like the front or like the inner 3 actually points towards this way, and then the outer one just opens as usual, right? So that's my preferred way, but you know, you can always play around and try. Anyway, you have different petals, have fun with it. So once I'm happy with this position, hold it there first so you don't kind of lose it. Take some wafer paper glue. And remember, all you need is just a very tiny bit of glue and it will stick because they are sticking wafer paper to wafer paper. So if you put too much, this entire thing might disintegrate and just like fall off completely. But I mean, it's not the end of the world. You can just let it dry and it will stay in position again. So put the glue there and then press it down for a few seconds, and you can see it has already stuck on really quickly. Okay, so now wherever there's wafer paper glue or liquid, the petals soften a lot. So you can put a little bit more to bend it so that it hugs the stamen or the center of the tulip. This way. Okay, and then you can go ahead and put more glue on the other side and we'll attach the other 2. And then you have one last spot here for your last one. Yeah, so play around, I'm twisting it in different ways so it allows my tulip to look more unique as well. Okay, so you can see now the center petals are done. We'll move on to the outer petals. Okay, so because floral tape on the wire is actually very little, so sometimes it might be too thin and your fingers might just like slip really easily and you find it very hard to be balancing it, you know, while attaching the petals. So the solution I have is you can just go ahead and grab your floral tape. You can use a white one if you want to dust it later, but I'm going to show you with a brown one, then you don't have to do the dusting towards the end. So you can choose any colors you want. If you prefer green, you can also go with that. So the floral tape, what it does is that it actually adds grip onto your stem, so it's a lot easier to hold while you're attaching the petals. So just start from the tip here, one tight roll, you can push it up, and then bring it down this way. And there you go. So now that with the floral tape, it's actually a lot easier to be holding it while attaching the petals. So I've actually done so for these guys here as well, but it's a white floral tape. Okay, so now moving on to the bigger petals. I love that how the petals are actually already pointing like outwards this way. I love to just look at all these like empty spots, like for example here, this empty spot, you can then put the petal here so it helps to open up. So you can see an empty spot here. Now put the petal this way. And then if you want to just kind of prelude how it looks like before you attach everything, then you can see from here, then my second petal goes here, and then my third petal goes here. And you can then see this is how your complete tulip will actually look like. Really, really simple with just 6 petals. Okay, so now we're ready with our position. We're just gonna put the glue there. So take some wafer paper glue, stick it there, and then hold it in place. So just hold it there for a few seconds. Okay, then now ready for my second one, which is like gonna be somewhere around here. Put my glue. So sometimes I will accidentally put too much glue as well, and my petal is actually flopping down this way. But I don't have to worry about that. I will just go ahead and attach all 3 first, while just using my fingers to support at the bottom. So attach all three first, then later on I will bring in like either a foam pad or something like this just to allow your flower to dry the other way around. So the gravity actually helps to pull it down this way so their petals will not be falling like backwards. So a little bit more glue here, then just use your fingers to support. Okay, so this is how it looks like from the top, and from the bottom I'm actually supporting with my fingers this way. Okay, so press it for a few seconds. Actually, if I let it go, you can see how the shape actually comes together really nicely, and this is your open peony. But because I put too much glue, it kind of like drops down a little bit. So I'm gonna go ahead and dry it this way. So you don't have to really get like a hook. All you have to do is grab something like that, create a hook like that, and then just let it dry. This way. So just give it a few minutes and it will be completely dry, and when that's done, I'll meet you back here. Okay, so while waiting for this guy to dry in its opposite position this way, I've actually also gone ahead to tape up all my other tulips with brown tape. So sometimes I dust them, but sometimes I just tape them up if it fits the color scheme that I'm going for. So you can see they're all here in different lengths, heights and shapes. So now that I can remove this, take it aside. So you can see how this guy comes together really nicely and it fits. If you try it, remember to tag me on Instagram so I can see your beautiful creations. I can't wait to see what other colors you try with them too, so go ahead and be creative and play around. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below and I'll be happy to take them. If there's anything else that you'd like to learn or want to know more about, feel free to comment below as well, and maybe I'll make a tutorial or video out of it. That's it for today. See you in the next one.